Yeah, it is funny. Like, is once we start the episode and people are like, what the hell were they talking about beforehand? Yeah. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Growing Up. Oh, whoa. Wrong show, Chad. Wrong. Um, Waking the People with your host, Sir Chad Everett Brochures, and the man that even Prince would sing about, Joshua, this is going to stick for life, McClendon.
Pretty much. And the last episode, when I went back and watched it, which if you haven't caught the last episode, it could be one of my favorites. So if you have not, go back and watch it. Episode 40, right, Chad? Episode 40. It's episode 41. Welcome back to the episode of Waking the People. If you have not yet, please subscribe, share, comment, pound that bell, get all the notifications so you can get all Chad and I's videos. And yeah, it's been a good week. Happy Saturday. It was supposed to be rainy today, not really super rainy, but a lot of stuff to talk about, Chad. And I tell you what, I think the topics today are going to be a little bit more relevant than they have, maybe for some people, because I'm starting to see some people in my, I guess you could say, social circle, maybe not in a direct sense, but even people that are more acquaintances start to see the media and see the, some of the issues that we're having in our country and be a little bit more aware of those situations. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. So Chad, I mean, it's been a week as always, right? It's always something new. It's never, oh, things are sunny in Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, but here we are again,
Yeah. Well, it is. That's the thing with this is that since we're keeping up with topics, modern topics, we're not running out of anything to talk about, especially with the velocity of change. So if you've heard the old statement that the way to boil a frog is a slow boil, right? Before it knows that it's actually too late. So that's the way that I kind of view what we're going through as a nation is like we consistently have these things that have differing degrees of frustration and outrage, but it's not enough to get people to go to the street to stop it. So I mean, if you think about it, we just passed 7 months of having Biden as our elected president, supposedly. So we've just passed 7 months. How much has changed in 7 months to what it was last year? How different are we now than we were then? Right. We were energy dependent last year, even though we were going through the lockdowns. We had every single news station except for maybe Fox most of the time was blaming everything on Trump. Everything. And now when you tune into the media, it's almost silent on who's responsible, with the exception of it's not Trump now. It's definitely not Biden getting blamed. It's the people that are the unpoked. They're the problem. Right. So it's shifted. So much has changed. And now it's like when the memes last year are saying they're not going after Trump, they're going after you. It's just that he's the target right now. He is not their main target. He was in the way. And if that doesn't resonate more now than it did last year, it's crazy because if all you do is turn on the television and you can see that parts of America are going after other parts of America. The divide is growing bigger because the federal government level and the media are putting the blame on people that they want to offset their the frustration of the nation, right? Or what they're saying, the frustration of the nation. You're not frustrated enough yet? Here, this is more stuff going on, and you should be frustrated. And they keep pushing this narrative of frustration into people's through the television into their minds. So then they blame everybody else. So that's a big part of the change. Before we were looking at it going, well, hell, that was, China's to blame for this virus. Now they're like, no, we're not even going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about the selfish people that don't want to get the poke. And like, you see, like there's that much difference and different change that's happened. We actually had an origin story. Now it's no longer that. We're into something else where it's like, the origin story being that where it came from. So big changes, a lot has changed. The economy is not doing great. Gas prices going up. We've kind of stagnated, but I have a feeling that we're going to get another big bump here soon. Food costs have gone up, and all of us can feel that.
Yeah. It's not even just on the news, Chad. Like we went out to dinner last night, and you can just walk outside and see changes. Like you mentioned, I was going to say, gas prices are. I drive a lot for during the week, and they're getting me. The gas prices are getting me. I've been seeing much more the homeless population, not just in America, but in my own community. I'm seeing growing at a very fast rate. I'm seeing people that were, standing on the side of the road trying to get money or collecting. Just panhandling is on a rise. Food costs, have you said? You go out to eat, you go to the grocery store. I like your analogy of the frog because it's a very subtle change. It's not like all of a sudden you go to the grocery store and things are, $10 more than they were before. It's very subtle. And if you're not aware of these changes, it can sneak up on you because, time and, not to divert into our, philosophies of, about the universe, but it's a very slow and subtle buildup of change. And sometimes you think that things aren't going to change. And, this is a very America way of thinking. No, this can't happen to us. This is a third world country problem or a different country's problem. But it's not. It can happen right here, and it is happening. Gas is gone up, as I said already, and the jobs claims are not that great. But it depends on what your mindset is going into it. If you're looking for a job, now is not a bad time to start looking for one. There's a lot of companies out there that are trying to hire, and in the past, back, let's say, 2017, when the job market was very strong, it was actually hard to get a job. There was people that were recruiting other people to leave their current places of employment to come and work for them. So this is an impact that we're going to continue to see grow, I think. And as inflation continues to grow, and as if job claims don't go up, if the unemployment rate doesn't go up, and if we don't address some of the issues at the border, and one topic that we're going to get into to start it off, then these problems are going to continue to grow, people. And I don't care where you are, maybe if you live in some ivory tower, that this isn't going to affect you. But for everyday normal people, you should be seeing the effects. And if you are not, it means you're simply just not looking for them.
Yeah, that is 100% accurate too, as far as if you're not looking just outside. When you go out, you'll see it. Now, we have the privilege, if you will, of living in one of the few free states left in the United States. Now, one that actually has a governor that has a set of, we'll just say the man has a lot of dignity and a lot of integrity. We'll say that. And those are the two of them, right? Dignity and integrity. It's with everything going on, he is not going to let these lockdown measures, these aggressive restrictions, this un-American stuff, they'll stop him from managing a free state. So there's a couple of things to get into with this, and there's a lot of subjects to cover throughout this episode, but look for the positions of hypocrisy. Look for it. And if you can't, when you see them and they're uncomfortable to think about, you may be a victim of gaslighting. Because if you're like, well, I don't want to think about that because it just is uncomfortable when I think about these two conflicting pieces of information because it challenges the worldview that I have. I just recently posted on social media, rapid result gaslighting test, inspired by the Coouf rapid results, right? You have 15 minutes or 15 to 45 minutes, you get your results or whatever. So this one is just simple. It's if you get any other answer whenever you ask the question, how is President Biden doing as a nation, as a leader? If you get any other answer, anything other than worst president in history, then you're likely when you're not likely, you have been gaslit. As everything has changed, we're more divided now, but they blame that on Trump. The economy is not picking up in every state. Now you get the free state of Florida or the free state of Texas, even though Texas is under a different crisis than other states mostly. We can live a normal life, but I know people outside of the state of Florida, they wish they were here because they're still practicing these aggressive and crazy restrictions that the science does not support. We got flip-flopping agencies. The CDC's flip-flopped. Freaking Fauci, that's all he's known for is flip-flopping. So, it's like, how do you measure truth in this environment? And some of that, you have to look at the things around you and go, what's different here? Why is it different?
Yeah. And let's jump into the first topic because you're really kind of, you're dancing around it. And that's the new strain that's out. And
yeah,
all the information that I've seen on the TV, speaking of misinformation, I think that's going to be the center point of this, is that we have been so accustomed for the past year and a half of not really, at least myself, I can't speak for everyone. Hopefully everyone feels some type of this way, is that seeing misinformation on the television as far as, cases or what have you, but then looking at the data, the data has been played with, some people that were marked down as COVID, had no reason to be marked as a COVID death or what so have you. So the new strand, let's jump into it. So the first thing, I've only seen a couple coverages of the new strand. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional. Chad and I, we speak from our opinions. It's our First Amendment right. So I am not saying that I am the know-all that is, the new strand. But the one big study I've been seeing is a study in Cape Cod. So it was like 456 new cases, 79% of them were vaccinated, and 79% of them showed symptoms. That's their new bell cow as far as the new strand that's out. First of all, I don't even know if Cape Cod's a good example to say, hey, this is happening in a community, so this should happen to the whole world. I think that's a little premature. Number two, 78% show symptoms. A symptom can be anything. You can have a stuffy nose. So no deaths either, by the way, Chad. No deaths so far in this study. So it's just, again, the media trying to create more fear, in my opinion. Trying to, the first go around, people, they wore their masks. They did everything they're supposed to do. Some people say, hey, listen, how many strands of the flu are out there? There's, hundreds of strands of the flu.
Yeah, we get a new one every season anyway.
Yeah, it's not going to go away.
That's all it is. The evolution of the virus is what the strand is whenever it has made a clear evolutionary change. It doesn't need to be a clear evolutionary change like it's this new super thing. It's just that's how they measure it through. It's not the same thing as it was before it was mutating. Now, also with virology, if you actually study that and stop just listening to the talking heads, you'll find out that whenever viruses, especially this type of virus or these types of viruses that are similar to influenza, corona has been around. The coronavirus has been around for a very long time. It's one of the respiratory issues that they usually look for whenever the seasonal flu comes around. You may have actually had COVID, but not 19, the newest or the newer strain, not the newest now, but the newer strain. So, sorry, I've got something going on here. Stop it. Oh, sorry, I got all this noise going on in the background. I hit something with my hands flying around here. But yeah, as it mutates, it becomes a declared new strain. So what I see it as is it's fear porn. That's why I relate it to fear porn. So here's one of the key factors that if it doesn't arise, if it doesn't make you think something is going on here, that there's a different agenda than what's being spoken, is they do not tell you died from, they tell you died with. And that's a big difference. It skews the result because you have people in hospice, they're going to die. That's what the hospice declares. Your time is very limited. There were people, they were counting them as deaths. There were people in automobile accidents, they counted as deaths. There were people that actually were not positive, but yet they still counted them as deaths because the hospitals made more money at that time. So they had reasons for it. We're not going to go down that rabbit trail. Joshua and I are not giving people medical advice. We're not going to tell you to get poked, and we're not going to tell you not to get poked. We both have different positions as well, but we're not that different with our positions. But we're not going to tell you. You listen to your doctor. But if your doctor starts giving you political opinion and then medical opinion, I'd be careful of that doctor. If they also don't want to talk about the questions that you ask when you are talking to your doctor, you might not want to use that doctor either, but it's up to you. Use whoever the hell it is you want. They are the medical professional, not us. We're not going to tell you what to do. Just they're the medical professional. Take your medical advice from them, not politicians, not the talking heads on the media, not anybody else, your politically active friends, none of them. Get it from the doctor, your doctor. Your doctor knows your health background. Now, that's their job. And if they're new doctors, they'll get to know you before they make advice. So, before they give any advice. Keep that stuff in mind, okay? Now, when it comes to CNN, now has the tracker again. Oh, God. They got rid of it once Biden took office. It's come back up. It's a new infection tracker. Here's the thing. If you have not watched Project Veritas outing CNN from from being on and having over 2 months worth of recordings from them talking about how they're going to change the news, to getting insider, like an individual out on a date who was just spilling it, just telling this girl that he was out on the date. By the way, I believe it was a Tinder date. He was telling her everything about what was going on behind the scenes, or a crap ton. I don't know, maybe not everything, but a lot. Talking about how that he feels that CNN was critical in getting Trump out of office, that they were also critical in getting Biden elected because of the way they framed the stories around the two of them, that they were that the Coouf was not actually, like, they were exaggerating a lot. They have like a phone where they have a direct contact with them, the president of CNN, to the newsroom, and once that would ring, and I may be wrong, it may not be the president of CNN, but it's one of the high-ranking people. I think it is actually the president of CNN. Once that phone would ring, they had to change their direction to make things worse, or to get more into the fear direction to try to get better ratings. And they would get calls regularly to critique them. That's not scary enough. That's not enough in the viewership to get them moving and motivated. So CNN is kind of like the Pornhub of fear porn. You go there to get scared, because that's pretty much the only thing that they give you, or they give you other talking points of just frustration. And I guarantee if you watch CNN, you're probably, by the end of the episode or by the end of that particular broadcast, you were pretty bothered. You're aggravated. You're motivated to take something out on somebody, whether that's just yelling at them or whatever it is. So we could also call it the Karen Training Network.
It's true. I mean,
but that would be KTN.
Two things, Chad. Number one, if you're out there and you watch the news, I don't care who it is. I'm a news hater. I don't like them. If you're watching CNN, turn that shit off. If you're watching NBC, turn that shit off. If you're watching even Fox, turn that shit off, because they are not. It's not healthy. Okay, they're not giving you the true stories. I have people that just work in this community, that work in the fire department, and they tell me some stuff about, as far as, mass shootings in the area, and other topics that should be covered in the news, which we talked about in the show before, and they just simply choose not to. Okay, so if you're watching that kind of stuff on a regular basis, I'd highly recommend to turn that shit off, because it really doesn't. It's not going to make your life better. And the fear porn analogy, people hear that, maybe they're a little confused by it. We all know that porn is very addictive. Okay, and fear, being afraid. There's people out there that are addicted to being afraid, and it's a way they live life. It gives them that fight or flight mentality, right? And some people love to be afraid. Number two, Chad, as far as going back to the new strand, I love how the only thing that's ever covered on the media as far as how to prevent from getting sick is masks, vaccines, and social distancing, or shutdowns, or what have you. I don't see anything about regular vitamin D, taking vitamins, not having a shitty diet to where you're consuming so much sugar that you're going to develop some of these pre-existing conditions that actually cause you to get sick at a higher rate, and for those symptoms to be way worse than someone who's not healthy. Exercise, I don't see any promotion of that. All I see is promotion of control tactics, fear tactics, and things that are really meant to keep the people down and to keep people out of work and to just create more control. And it's ridiculous. There's so many better ways to prevent yourself from being sick. I'm a big believer in manifestation. And if you walk around and you're scared, or you think you're going to get sick, and you're doing all these things to a high rate, probably higher than you should, you spend way too much mental power on it, there's a good chance that you're going to get sick. You're going to create that into your life, and you're going to see it, and it's going to find you. So exercise, take vitamins, wash your hands, and carry on about your day. That's all you do.
Adding in a little bit too, to look at the hypocrisy, the blatant pieces of information that's right in front of you that should tell you something different than the narrative. Because as Joshua said, we have mass shootings in local areas, right? We have, it's not slowing down with the hate crimes and these. And by the way, when I say hate crimes, it's not whites against other people. It's, just anything that's motivated by hate. All right. We have a lot of that going on. I listen to a lot of people and I research for a lot of local events to find out what's really going on, because the mainstream media will not tell you. So with that, really, one, turn it off, or pay attention to your local, not necessarily local major broadcast, but find some of the offshoot, locals. We could be one of those sources, but we're more alternative news and commentary than we are like journalists, right? But we'll dig into stuff and we'll try to come up with some good information for you. It's not to tell you how to think, it's to give you more information so you're better prepared to think, and you can do it however you want. So with that, pay attention to what's going on around you. The other thing, if this is such an incredibly contagious and dangerous virus, we'll call it the Coouf. We gotta be careful with our language at times, because they do have, through where we post this, at least on YouTube, they do have bots. And what those bots' jobs are, instead of having a person sit and listen, its job is to pick up keywords and to see if there's a violation of community standards that would have the channel either demonetized, which we're not there yet, or revoked altogether, or just pull the episode so you can't get access to it. So we got to be careful, because we say the wrong things in the right or the wrong context, they would take the entire episode down, not block out a piece or anything like that. They just let us know that the episode's no longer available. So as far as that goes, we will be cautious to it. Now, for contamination to these unbelievable, contagious and deadly thing, right? The Coouf. We dispose of this the same as we dispose of gum wrappers. If it was so incredibly horrible and bad, we need to be careful. There would be very specific depositories where you go and drop these things off. We can just throw it in regular trash. Does that mean we don't care about our sanitation workers? And if it was really that bad, why aren't our sanitation workers falling out in droves?
It's true.
Right? They're dealing with all of the crap coming from all of these different homes. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. I absolutely respect sanitation workers. They are as important to our society as doctors are. And if you don't understand how that's true, you might want to think a little bit more about the details of what it takes to actually how the society holds itself together. Doctors are highly important. And if you're shitting on these people that are sanitation workers, you are an idiot. Now, as those people do a lot for you, more than just pick up your trash. Mm-hmm. So shout out to Parker's and Son. Parker and Sons. I love that company, by the way. They're awesome in this area. But anyway, so with that, they're not falling out in droves. They're not calling out sick. They're not doing a lot of that stuff. So if this thing is so horrible, why isn't that happening? So to me, the real issue is the mind virus. So it doesn't mean that this thing doesn't exist. But if you're immunocompromised, yeah, you probably need to take extra precautions. But to force everybody to take those same precautions, or continue to push this thing that could very well just be a placebo, who knows? But go get poked. I've mentioned this in a different segment, and actually in a different episode, about why I believe our politicians will put into these big bills like the American Relief Act, or the coronavirus, the CARES Act, stuff like that. Why they send like $25 million over, and I've harped on this one quite a bit because it's so incredibly it's a lunatic move. It doesn't have any validation for this time and this, like, our money being spent this way. $25 million over to Pakistan for gender studies. Why? My speculation on this is that is a politician, and the groups that are involved with these politicians. By the way, a lot of these bills are written before they're ever even proposed. As you think about it, it's like 800 pages for some bills, right? They don't write that the day before. Also, the politicians that present it typically don't even write the whole thing. They don't even write parts of it sometimes. There's companies that do it. Now, when you get that kind of money leaving our shores for meaningless reasons, and I call it meaningless reasons because of the state that we're currently in, prioritizing where our money's going, and we have money going off, that is, to me, as a speculation, a method for laundering money. is they get the money over there for whatever reason, and it's in a vehicle. It's in a different vehicle. This is what it go to. This is what it's going to, and this is why it's going. And then it gets a return loop, but it doesn't come back. Hey, that money's coming back to you. It comes back in another form. It doesn't have to be a monetary form directly. It could be an investment form. It could be, you now own X amount of this company or whatever it is. And it gets through this convolution process where you lose the stability of what it went over for in the first place. And it gets convoluted into this other thing, but it ultimately comes back to enrich the politicians and the companies that they represent. No, but we can't track it as easily.
No,
and as long as nobody's willing to look into it.
Sorry, not to cut you off, Chad, just to throw in there. I mean, just, do we really think, so we think that sending $25 million over to Pakistan to do studies is a better idea than leaving that money in the United States to do studies. So you're telling me that Pakistan has better, resources to do research than the United States does. I beg to differ on that. I've never been to Pakistan, probably never going to go to Pakistan, but I would argue highly that is not the case.
Yeah, it's not American interest there. And I would also venture to say that likely was written well before this entire thing happened. They just found that let's push this in. How many things can we get into the CARES Act? Because what was it, 4.5% of the total CARES Act went to the American people? Something like that. It was incredibly low. I forgot what it was exactly, but I think it was 4.5 of the original
names.
Yes, well, that's usually it too. Whatever the name is, look to the other side. Like I've said many times before, like the American Cancer Society, if they came up with a cure, they would lose their purpose for existence. They would be able to distribute the cure, take care of people, become an advocacy and an awareness. But is more money in the sickness or more money in the prevention or the cure? Where's the money really at? As long as the cure doesn't exist, they're not going to create it, in my opinion, right? That's how I feel about it. They do some good things, but overall, though, if they're blocking research or they're not getting the money where we say that we're giving money for, then there's a problem there. So you get like the politicians like to do this where whatever they say is usually what they're going to do the opposite of. I'm for families, and they're like, yeah, you know what? It's okay not to have father figures in the home, or you don't have to deal with anything you're going through, just get a divorce. Whatever they say they're for usually is exactly the opposite of what they really do stand for. If they go on and on and on about racial issues, they're probably very racist. Now, you'll notice that one party doesn't really talk much about race. They sit in the defense position if they're accused, but they really don't talk much about it. The other side can't talk about anything other than that. They managed to fix race to everything. So again, I'm going through all of that because I want to bring it back to who's actually benefiting from this mass push, this incredible stress to get the poke. Because it is an incredible stress. There's businesses that say they will not let you be a patron of their business if you don't have verification that you've been poked, which is the vaccine passport, right? It's where are your papers? Where's your documents? In China, this has been a system they've used for a while. Now, they use a social credit system, which is a slippery slope. We actually give in to the vaccine passport. The social credit system is right behind it because it's a platform to build it from. So if you're not familiar with the social credit system, is where they actually take your social engagements and they score you. Now in China, it will score you and allow you to have access to certain places. And if you don't have a score high enough to go to a certain place, you're not allowed to go there. They check it for transportation. Let's say you get on city buses, you have to provide that on a mobile phone to show them who you are, what your credit score is, and if you're actually allowed to take that ride. Now, they shut you down from being able to do things in your life there. Here, they're talking about doing something similar. So we have states, it's not being pushed because it's unconstitutional. So what the government's doing is having businesses do it. Like, yeah, we're not gonna hold it against you if you do it. So if they start restricting people's access to business and living living the American dream, by taking away our ability to be a part of commerce, it doesn't matter how much money you have if you can't spend it. Now, so what do? You go get poked, right? So who's benefiting from the poke? If what you don't know is they're not free, they're free to you, but the American taxpayer pays for it. It is not free. Whoever says that it's free, that is a deception. The American taxpayer is you. If you pay taxes, you're that person. That's how the poke is being provided. Now, again, not on the front end. Whenever it's taxes, it's usually coming out of the back end. It's later on. You'll pay for it for a while. It's like putting something on credit. So it's not free. It is being pushed. Fauci is a big part of it. He has stake in it. He has interests in it. So he's enriching himself by giving advice, which should be a conflict of interest. But he's allowed to do it, which is insane to me. Other factors. There are things happening with this stuff that you're censored from hearing about, from knowing about. So keep this stuff in mind. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying do it. It's your call. Know before you do. Make your decision. It's your decision, and own that shit. It's your decision, but make it on your own volition, not because somebody else pushed or pressured you. So we have a lot of false reporting. We have died with, not died from. Big difference, which really drastically drops a lot of the numbers for last year, 2020, significantly, but they're not releasing that because the CDC has not done so. At state level, you can do the math yourself. It's up to you, but you're still not going to get the exact because it's convoluted. Best way that I found to do it, although it's not really exact, is take the trend, understand the percentage trend, give yourself a margin of error from year over year for the death statistics for the state. And then whatever's different at the end of the year, does it fit the trend within a margin of error, which is, it's fractional. It's not a big percentage. And if there is, then now you have a number. You have something you can speculate on. It's better than going, well, all these people died. Yeah, a lot of fucking people died in 2020 from other conditions. That may not have helped, and it may have sped up that condition, but not the primary purpose, but the secondary reason why their health failed. So that's one thing. The other thing, we have other countries right now. By the way, the Australian military has been deployed to Sydney to enforce COVID restrictions, to make sure that people are doing the social distancing, and to make sure if they're not, that they have had their shot. So they're enforcing things there. And it's not social distancing just by itself, it's the other factors. And you have to have that otherwise. And they're going door to door. They're supposed to be doing this, going door to door to check people's papers, to make sure that they're up to date and that they're doing the government directed restrictions, that they're abiding by those things. That's already happening. Australia is actually a free country. So it is a country that's modeled by the United States and Great Britain. They've taken a lot from both of those countries because it originated because of Great Britain, the UK. So that's where it came from. So, or it's actually, yeah, originally it was a prisoner colony. And then they used the United Kingdom's governmental style to help build out their own. So, all right. So as far as that goes, there are a lot of things going on in the Philippines. I don't know if you've kept up with that. Have you seen anything over there in the Philippines?
Not too much Eastern Asia. I haven't really been keeping up too much with over there. They're kind of, they're on the other side. You know, who knows what's going on in Eastern Asia? It's a little crazy over there. We're trying to focus more so on the at-home front. But yeah, it's getting, I mean, if that just doesn't show you that we're entering this world of control and people knocking on your door to say, hey, are you up to date? Like, that sounds like fascism to me, Chad. I mean, people have the right to choose. If you want to get it, you don't want to get it. If you want to take your precautions, do so. And Chad and I aren't saying for people, you know, that this virus is real. People are getting sick and people do die from it. And it's very unfortunate. But like, you know, people die from things every day. It's just not, it's not media televised. So, you know, we talked about, you know, I don't want to segue, but we talked about some, you know, Alan Watts concepts in the last episode as far as life and death. And unfortunately, guys, our time on this earth is limited, and there's going to be a day, you know, that it's going to be your last day. So with that being said, one of my favorite quotes is always that live every day like your last, because one day it will be. And no one knows when it's going to be, but don't live in fear. Try to make the best decision you can. And we're not saying don't be, you know, respectful to other people around you. It's more so, you know, the forcing and the making people make a decision that maybe they're not even well educated, or they don't have enough knowledge to make a decisions for themselves. So they go under pressure. They go under what the news tells them. And a lot of the times the news doesn't have your best interests at heart. They don't even understand their own media and their own news that they're putting out. They're just simply getting numbers and saying, hey, put this on air. You know, it's not like all the people on CNN or Fox are you know, doctors and really have a good understanding of this data. They're just simply portraying it with their charisma and their platform to the public. And most people just, you know, accept that as, you know, absolute. And it's not the case at all.
No, absolute perfect point too. It is to think that this entire thing is structured to be a conspiracy does not mean that it is. Now it could be, it could also be the media has chased the charts. What sells the best? When they, like when CNN, again through Project Veritas, had said fear sells. It's not the first time any reporter or news agency said that. But when they said it in the right context of how they've been driving their numbers. That could very well be they're just chasing the charts and somebody else sees that as a useful ability for their own agenda and say, you know what, let's go ahead and try to help that out or piggyback on that fear streak. So a lot of this stuff, a lot of these news agencies, that's all they report is fear, because people want to prepare themselves for what's to come. And the best way to do that is when you're afraid, you have a pessimistic view, so you have a preparation point. You know, optimism doesn't always like to prepare. It's kind of like, you know what, things are just going to happen. You have different variations inside of optimism. Pessimism is more likely to prepare, or the pessimist will, most likely. Doesn't again mean that the optimist doesn't. It's just on average, you're going to see people that are pessimistic do the preparation. We all have every one of those factors. It doesn't matter if you say, I'm an optimist. Yeah, you're an optimist by choice, but you're not always an optimist. The same thing, if you're a pessimist by choice, but you're not always a pessimist. You just may have, it's percentage based. So as far as that goes, we do these things for a reason, and that very well may be why these, almost certainly why these news agencies have done what they've done, and who's more likely to tune in. You know, and there's a reason why the majority of these large networks are predominantly left, versus the one major network that's right. Now, I don't think it started off going, hey, we want political control. I think political control found its way into what they were producing for content. And they're like, I can use this. You don't think a politician won't do something like that. I don't know if I would safely say any politician wouldn't use something like that as a leverage point. I mean, that's all they ever seem to bring up whenever they're slandering each other, when they're running for their positions, the seats. They're nasty. Politics is disgusting. So they're not doing what they used to, which is you go do your job, then you go back to your farm or you go back to your manufacturing or whatever it is and get back to living the American life, not permanent politicians. That's why I am an advocate for term limits, as these people should not be able to sit there. Nancy Pelosi, you know, the salary for a senator, which she's over the House, so she's in Congress. Their salary now is like $170,000 for Congress people. Now, I don't know what the Speaker of the House income is right now. I mean, we can easily look that up because it is public knowledge. But her family, her and her husband are multi-hundred millionaires. So they're not 100 millionaire. They're multiple times over. They're not a billionaire yet that I'm aware of. How did she get there? She's only got maybe $250,000 salary annually. There's interests that she's had. She's also had specific knowledge that she can make decisions on, which is against us as the American people, because to enrich herself is against us. She enriches herself by her salary. That is not against us. That's what we've all agreed that she should get paid. When she starts taking money from outside of that salary, that it can become against us, because somebody's going to suffer based off of that. Somebody else is getting an advantage. Yeah,
that's, we're picking on Nancy. Mitch McConnell, he's been there since like the 70s.
Oh yeah, he doesn't get any favor from me.
No, Rick Scott, we've talked about before. He's got that mega mansion out there somewhere. I don't know if it's in Jacksonville or something. He's got that mega mansion. They're all, both left and right, have been enriching themselves for as long as time has been time. So it's the conspiracies and the corruption and politics, not just in America but across the world. That's something that has gone on since we started electing people. Even before we started electing people, we had monarchs and dictatorships and all the oligarchies, all the different types of forms of government. It's all been about controlling the people. it's our goal as a country was that we could live in a place where that was not the case, but it's very hard to get away from that fact for sure. And
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever will. We'll see.
That's why, you and I are both NPA. Now, we have our leanings because of our principles, but we're like, I'm non-party affiliate. You're non-party affiliate too, right?
Yeah, I'm becoming more libertarian as every day goes on. I think that I'm that's kind of stuff. But again, I got some Democratic views, I got some Libertarian views, I got some Republican views. So it's fair to say that it's non-party affiliate, isn't that? I'm not going to die on one hill, and I'm not going to listen to what the other side has to say. I just think that's a losing mind frame. I don't care what party you follow. If you just completely think that other viewpoints are wrong, you're just setting yourself up for failure. But yeah, definitely a mixed boat for sure.
Yeah, that's the hill I'll die on, is the non-party hill.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the only one that I'll actually say I'm good with this one. Which is, it just means I'm going to vote to my consciousness. I'm not going to vote to, I don't know enough about this, let me check the box. That's party line voting. Or I've heard a lot of stuff about it, but the person that I use that works with my narrative says this, so I'm only going to vote that. No, vote with your consciousness, people. Wake up a little bit, do some research, get out of your own world dramas and get into your real world life. Anyway, we've got a little bit more we need to go over, but we're running out of time. So we do have one other thing, actually two more things that I want to bring up. Actually three, so I'll get through them pretty quickly. One of them is so with all of this federal money for unemployment, getting people back to work, there's a lot of people that are refusing to go back to work. Florida cut out the federal aid. Now it's just regular unemployment for the state, which is maxed out at 276, I believe, after taxes.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's not much. You're not going to make if you own a home, you're not going to make enough money, most likely, to pay your bills on unemployment. It's not designed to get you to sit around and make enough money to pay your bills. It's designed to help ease the discomfort of not having your bills or any money coming in while you find another job. So it gives you something in the intermediate, in the interim. Sorry. So that the way that they've set it up, the Democrats have been pushing UBI as an idea. UBI stands for Universal Basic Income. Now, the set point of how much is necessary for people to actually live off of, it is a socialist Democrat move. So that's what that's from. That is not okay, well, let's just give people money. We have had a form of that. It's welfare. They want to move it up into the working class, people that are not stuck on welfare long-term, and put it into people why should you work? I'm going to pay you more to sit around and do nothing. This is where the problems are really getting out of hand. So Florida is one of the states that stopped it. There's several other states that have stopped it, but not all have. You're going to see positive economic move in the states that actually stopped taking the federal aid. So Florida is one of those, and we're doing okay. We're actually getting back to, I think we're back at normal now. There's quite a few things that we still have, like the cruise lines we talked about in the previous episode, but that's because the way they want to run their policies, not by everything else when it comes to the economy. We're open and we're a free state again. So UBI, and this is an example of why it's such a dangerous idea. Where does that money come from? Joshua, you know where it comes from. But for everybody else that's watching, where does that universal basic income come from? And the answer is it's from the taxpayers. It has to. Here's the thing about it. If that becomes a standard, that means your taxes go up. So when you do anything to go above your universal basic income, you're going to get taxed on that, which is a penalty. It's not a direct penalty. It's an indirect penalty. You're getting less of your money for the work that you do. We raise minimum wage, your taxes go up. Now, UBI is a bad idea, and this is a good example. The next one, you know what today is?
July 31st.
Yeah, July 31st. It's a Saturday. There's one more thing, and this is a major thing for our nation. And I have a feeling there's two ways this is going to pan out. So today is the last day of the mortgage forbearance. It's not the, I take that back. It's not the mortgage forbearance. It is the last day of the renter's protection from the CARES Act. So here's one of the setups. So if you were a landlord and you had a tenant, then the tenant refused to pay, the majority of those people were receiving a maxed out $870 something a week. They were making that kind of money when they were on the federal unemployment with the state unemployment due to the lockdowns. The landlords were not allowed to evict those individuals. And to clear it up, it's not the mortgage forbearance that's been over. It's the eviction restrictions. So today's the last day. Congress doesn't do something, there will be a significant influx. It's over 2 million people will be evicted. Now, I think that's just a state level, because these landlords have owned these properties. They have not legally been allowed to evict anybody. So I don't know if anybody else that's watching this is a landlord, but if you are, you'll know that usually if a tenant is not that keen on paying their rent, also they're less likely to take good care of your property.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't evict them legally, you can't do anything about it, even though they've made all of this money, because a lot of these people were making $800 a week. It's 800 plus a week. That's some pretty damn good money.
Yeah.
I put you over 40 something $1,000 annually.
If you're not paying your rent and you're making $800 a week, you need to go back to financial school, because it doesn't matter if there's a restriction on evictions or you don't have to pay. If you're making that much money, you need to be a responsible adult and pay your rent, because not only are they going to lift it and be able to evict you, you're going to have to pay all those months that you didn't pay rent back. So unless you got like, I don't know, a year and a half's worth of rent sitting in your bank account, then you're going to be shit out of luck. So I really don't feel sorry for those people. I know that sounds kind of harsh. Everyone's got different situations in their life, but if COVID affected your work, then you were able to receive the unemployment and you were getting that much money a week. That's on you, boo-boo. You should have been paying your rent and being responsible. But so here's the thing. You've got these landlords that are they can serve these eviction letters. And I guarantee you, if nothing's done, those eviction letters will be ready on Monday. Mm-hmm. They'll be ready Sunday. They're ready now.
Business day, right? Oh, they're ready to go because they take people out. These, like, the landlords have been put in a very desperate situation. If they manage to hold on to their properties to this point, they're going to have a lot of emotional upset that's going to say, we need to do something about this, and this person needs to get out. They willfully took advantage of me. They took advantage of the taxpayers too, but they took advantage of me because they sat there without paying their rent since this started in March, or what was it? March of 2020. And they haven't paid rent the entire time. You realize how much of a financial strain that puts on the landlord? But these people have been taught, not everybody, but there's a narrative out there that the landlord isn't deserving. They're taking advantage of you by you renting from them. There's this bullshit mentality, which is a socialist and communist mentality. It's how you get those systems into play, is you get people to feel like they've been victimized. They've been making over $800 a week, and they've been refusing to pay, and now all of that's coming due. Now, Congress is talking about possibly passing a bill that pays the landlords so that they get paid for all of that time back. Now, whose money is it? Again, that's the taxpayers' money. It's just the government's not being responsible in any way. So let's just say it's $870 times 52. So now that's $45,240 a year is what people were making on unemployment in the state of Florida up until it was cut off if they stayed on federal plus the state. So $42,000, and you couldn't pay your damn rent. So, and then people are like, oh no, well, this is because of these evil Republicans, because it's typically the people that are landlords are going to be more conservative because they've taken sacrifice in order to accumulate something so they could have those properties. Not a guarantee, but it's more likely that those people are going to be more conservative, which fits into the narrative. Conservatives are bad. And look at what they're going to do to you, even though these tenants have done this for this long. So if you were,
So let's break it down. So if you needed unemployment during when COVID first hit, completely understandable. All that money wasn't free money, right? That was taxpayer money. That was air, as in they just printed a bunch of money. So it's not that it like had significant value other than taxpayers paying into it. But when you print and there's more money in circulation, you're just devaluing it already. So we have that standpoint. You were making X amount of dollars, 800 plus a week, chose not to pay your rent because of what the government said and said, hey, it's okay, we can't evict you. Everyone lives in different situations, of course, but if you have any amount of intelligence as far as being financially responsible, then you can make $800 a week work to pay your rent, to pay your bills, and to live beneath your means and survive. A lot of people didn't choose to do that. Now they're saying that we are going to use more taxpayer dollars that we've printed to pay back these landlords because of the people being not financially responsible for what they were given. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, Chad. It's dumb.
Yep. But that's also because people are not, they're using AOC economics, which is not supposed to make sense. CENTS. It's supposed to make you feel good. And you're the victim. And this is how we're going to make it right, by doing all this stuff. That's AOC economics. She's a socialist. That's their view. That's how she feels about this economically. It's a horrible, destructive idea, but that's happening. So we'll find out, and likely we're going to be updated tomorrow. Now, I have a feeling they waited to the last minute so that they could really clearly create an enemy. So if you were on the fence, you were irresponsible, but you're kind of like in this world of, you're just blissfully ignorant, or you're not really taking that much of a concern over it, or haven't up until recently, then you're going to look at it and be like, that's the landlord's fault. That's not my fault. So now, also, there's a lot of landlords out there that are going to be burnt over this, that are not going to want to let anybody actually rent their properties or to sign these leases, that are already that are in debt as they are, or that they have a history of not paying the rent, of being delinquent or taking advantage of the system in that window of time. So you're going to have a lot of people that aren't going to be able to find housing. There's going to be landlords. It's their right not to bring these people in. If they want their property to sit vacant, well, if you have somebody sitting in your property for 18 months, or 20 months, would you rather the property sit vacant for, another 6 months, or get somebody else in the event that right now we're looking at other states considering lockdowns and going back through that cycle again? There's a lot of landlords that are not going to be able to afford that. So there are mega corporations that are going along buying foreclosures, which they're buying them so they rent them out, which means that the middle class, is a lot of people in that own property that are landlords. It's reducing the investments in the middle class. So they're not going to, it's going to be able to take those homes away. They're not going to be able to buy more of them. And we're also dealing with a lot of land or real estate or land that's already developed. So it's not like we're going to be able to develop a lot more, and the cost of building has gone up. So, we're like, okay, we'll fight the system, and, big corporations are bad and all this stuff is what the left likes to push. The left seems to be doing everything for the environment to get better for those mega corporations. So keep this stuff in mind as we move forward and look at the way the government is looking at the American people. We're just pawns for their game. They threaten our health with everything going on. If you don't do this, then that, you're a bad person. They've got us divided between each other, where it's like last year it was Trump's fault, as I mentioned earlier. This year it's the people that didn't take the poke. It's their fault. It's not the president's fault. That was Trump. It's now the unvaxxed. And those unvaxxed people, they're going to be the Trump supporters. So you see how it's actually creating this huge narrative that the people you need to take your frustration out are not the government that's putting the framing of this whole thing together. It's the people, and it's these people. It's tribalism. And because they feel like they have the majority, they can do whatever they want, but they have to do it subtly. So if somebody's attacked in the streets, it goes unreported. If you're the right narrative. But if you're a white cop that shoots a black suspect, then we got a campaign for that called Black Lives Matter. And we're going to drag that thing out. We're going to put court cases together. We're going to do all kinds of stuff. We're going to burn, destroy, and everything. BLM destroying everything last year the way that they did with Antifa, and then they sit there and cry on the witness stand with this January 6th committee because, oh my God, I held the door open for somebody. But you got people that are barricaded in, federal officers barricaded in, and the building's being set on fire. Not a word is allowed to be muttered by those individuals to the media.
You know whose job it is, Chad, to figure this stuff out?
What's that?
You know whose job this is to figure all this out?
American people.
Them and the government. This is why we elected them. Y'all figure it out. Okay, I'm sick of this, the for lack of a better terms, pussyfooting around. I don't like it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault. You know whose fault it is? It's us, because we need to start electing better people, and it's the people elected to do their damn job. So
Yeah.
figure it out. I don't care how you do it. From the beginning of vaccines, if you got vaccinated, great. If you didn't, great. If you're vaccinated, you can still spread the shit. That's common knowledge. I thought that we were pretty aware of all that. It's a virus. So figure it out, okay? I don't need any more CNN. This is my ranting voice. Any more Fox trying to figure it out. Fix it, okay?
Yeah.
Be done with it and fix it. It's been 2 damn years of this, okay? So you're telling me we can find Saddam Hussein in a hole out in the middle of the desert, but y'all can't figure this stuff out. You can't figure out how to run the economy.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yep. We got America's Most Wanted, Bin Laden, right?
Figure it out.
We got him. We figured it out over time, right? But you see, the thing, if we want to figure it out, we have to start at one key factor, and that is being responsible. If you voted for somebody and they're not doing their job, it's your responsibility to make sure they're aware and then to get them out.
Vote their ass
There's an
out.
impeachment process. There is a recall process. Governor Newsom, horrible Governor Newsom in California, he's going through that. They've had that happen, was it 15 or 20 years ago, before Arnold Schwarzenegger was elected. They also did a recall on a governor before that, before Arnold. No, not that Arnold was recalled, he wasn't, but there was another governor that got recalled in California. It does happen, but you have to do it. So if the person that you work to get elected is not doing their job, it's your responsibility to hold them responsible. And if they're not going to be responsible, it's your responsibility to make sure you get somebody in there that will. Somebody else needs a shot. Because what you did is you got somebody who can talk really well, but they're a lame duck, or their interests were just lies to you. No, they were lying to you in order to get their interest in and enrich themselves. So we're a laughing stock to other countries because of the absolute obvious hypocrisy. We live inside of this glass bubble. It's a glass fish tank of lies and deception, and we're sitting there going, oh well, no, that's not going on, or that's not my problem, it's somebody else's. If we want to start working on fixing a lot of this stuff, the United States was known for being responsible. It was the land of the free because we were responsible to keep it that way. We have a constitution that we have a responsibility, we have an oath to keep. And the people that we elect that put their hands on the Bible and swear their oath to take that as a absolute critical point of their election or their elected position, if they start to betray that oath, they're out. That's it. They're out.
What happens, Chad, if you're at work and your work performance goes down and your ability to do your job goes down and all the things that spiral? What happens, Chad, if you're at work and you're just not performing?
At this moment, you get fired.
They fire your ass. The only people that don't get fired are these people. So we get fired for going to our place of employment and not setting the standard and doing what you're supposed to do and following the policies, etc. That wherever you work says, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. Only people that don't get fired are politicians.
Yep. It's an elite class.
Yep.
Right. The people in the elite class are going to be the mega businesses, Jeff Bezos, those kind of people, and politicians. Those are the ones that are in the elite class. Everybody else is below them, and they treat us that way. You got AOC acting out like this living drama so that she continues to get Best Politician Actress Award. Now, which is not the only one, but she's up there, man. She really wants that. She's like Brie Larson. She really wants that award, man. She wants to be able to get nominated. She wants to be able to be the people's champion, the socialist champion. We've got people that are coming through, that they're coming out of the border in the south border for Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, and California, that are able to come into the country unchecked, and to be, our military has moved them to states like Tennessee. Why are they going to Tennessee? It's a good question, right? Tennessee has not been a swing state. It's been a red state. Then turn it into a swing state or turn it blue. If you don't have voting ID laws, which HR 1 wants to get rid of that, then those people that get moved there can go vote, and they don't even have to be 18 to vote. They're supposed to be, but if they don't prove their ID, they can't prove anything. It's one more warm body voting. So you've got these people being moved into these different states. Texas, it's what is it? There's more than 1 million people since January has crossed the border into Texas, and they're going all over. They're being told where to report, and only 1/3 of the people that are going through are actually reporting to those locations. So with all of that, and then they're telling us we need to mask up, we need to lock down. We have all these restrictions that we need to abide by, but that damn border is hanging wide open with people coming through with all kinds of conditions that are coming from all kinds of countries. Like 143 different countries have their people coming through at the southern border into the United States that are now unchecked. Our law systems and legal systems cannot keep up with that. Our law enforcement can't keep up with it. They've got to take care of us plus, and then ICE has been whittled down. So, and then we can't even get Cubans in that are truly leaving a tyrannical government. And they're trying to get over here, and our Coast Guards are catching up with them, giving them resources and turning them around to go back to Cuba. But everybody coming in through the southern border is allowed in. It's absolute hypocrisy. If you can't see that, something's wrong with you. You're overly attached to a different narrative. You're gaslit. You've been lied to, and you're living in the lie. So, all right, we got to close this all up. The final thing, and then I've got all of mine done for the day, has to do with what a segue. I should have done this early and not at the end. But there's Jeff Bezos is actually, there is a electric vehicle company that he is backing, and I'm going to talk more about it on the next episode. But it's the company is it RIVIAN? RIVIAN? I'm not pronouncing that properly. I'm going to have to look that one up and actually make sure I pronounce it properly. But yeah, so there's an electric vehicle company. This one, they're launching with a all-electric pickup. Ford's going to be releasing their all-electric pickup. It's the F-150 Lightning, 2 different distance or battery models that will be available for it. That's going to be coming out later in the year or the beginning of 2022. They're supposed to release this one in the mid to late November. So, and this is the one that, again, Bezos is backing. So I'll get more information on that. As Joshua wants to keep us updated on crypto, I'm going to bring more of the electric vehicle world into the episodes, just to kind of give us a little bit more of a variety of topics. So that's pretty much it that I've got for the day. I know we went a little bit longer than anticipated, but Joshua, you got anything else before we close up, or any comments over my rant?
No, not really. We'll probably start off with that, the electric vehicles. I'm a big fan too. As you know, we almost did an entire episode a few episodes ago about electric vehicles. So I actually got a lot of good feedback from you guys about that. We'll kind of touch on, it's funny how me and Chad set a time, and whenever we get started, it's always time kind of gets thrown out the window as far as actual time. We always give a little bit of a soft few minutes to kind of expand their ideas a little bit more. We'll talk about crypto on the next episode, a lot of electric vehicles, because they kind of intertwine with one another. But again, if you guys have not yet, please hit that subscribe button. Please share that video. We're still at 69 subscribers. I know you guys are watching. If you haven't watched, hit that button so we can get to 70. We're kind of like crypto, for the past little bit. We've been, kind of dipping up, down, up, down. So hit that button, help Chad and I out. Have a great weekend. Chad and I, again, have we said for the last few episodes, we're both very busy on our personal lives. So we're once things change and we have more time, we'll be able to get with you guys a lot more. But we try to give you the best content that we can, and I hope you enjoy it and have a great weekend. Don't fall into this mass media. Turn the damn TV off. Go outside. Go work out. Go do something with your loved ones. Spend more of your time focusing on you and less on the hypocrisy and all the craziness that we see on the television. And above all else, Chad, just stay golden pony boy and keep your chin down, and it'll all be okay in the end, I promise.
Yeah. Oh, that is a beautiful way to end the show. I'm not going to contaminate it either, other than this. Yeah. So with that, like this episode if you liked it, share it with a friend. So again, if you're not subscribed, do subscribe. Take that like button to pound town like a tender date. So, and until next time, remember, we're all Americans. We need to act like it. So until then, hold the Constitution, hold your oath, and we'll catch you on the next one. On the flip side, pony boy. All right, take it easy.